I never thought I'd be that guy. You know, the one who gets blindsided in his own marriage. The one who works his ass off while his wife is out living a double life. But I guess no one ever really sees it coming, until it hits you like a freight train. My name's Daniel, but everyone just calls me Dan. I'm 34, work in IT, and for most of my adult life, I've done things by the book. I went to college, got a decent job straight out, climbed the ladder, saved responsibly, and met the girl I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. Her name's Chloe. We met at a mutual friend's party 8 years ago. She was charming, full of life, and talked about dreams like they were right within reach. I fell hard, fast. Chloe worked in marketing back then. She was good at it too, really creative, always coming up with clever campaign ideas and catchy slogans. But after we got married, she started feeling burnt out, said she wanted to try something different. I didn't push. I was doing well at work, we had savings, and honestly, I thought, if this is what makes her happy, I'll support it. So she quit her job. Said she wanted to explore her entrepreneurial side. First it was handmade candles. Then custom journals. Then she got into this coaching thing, life coaching, business coaching, whatever was trending on Instagram that month. I never saw any real clients or income, but she was always busy, always working on something big. I didn't question it too much. I figured building a business takes time, and she'd eventually find her groove. Meanwhile, I took on more responsibilities at work. I was managing a team of 10, running back-to-back meetings, and putting in late hours to keep our lifestyle afloat. I covered the mortgage, the bills, her business investments, groceries, trips, everything. Chloe always said she'd pay me back one day, once her brand blew up. I'll be honest, there were moments I felt a little used. Like when she'd order $200 worth of skincare in one click, or fly across the country for a business retreat with women she barely knew from Facebook groups. But I let it slide. I trusted her. I wanted her to feel empowered, not trapped in a life she didn't want. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. Or so I thought. We still had date nights, still went on trips together, still laughed at dumb inside jokes. Sure, the intimacy had dipped a bit, but that happens in long-term relationships, right? The first red flag came when she changed her phone password. She said it was because she'd been getting spam calls, and her coach advised her to increase her digital privacy. At first, I shrugged it off. But then she started taking calls in the other room. Whispering. Smiling at her phone and quickly locking it when I walked by. I told myself not to get paranoid. I didn't want to be the controlling husband, the one who policed every move. Still, something felt off. The kind of off you can't explain, you just know. One night, she got a text while she was in the shower. I glanced at the screen out of instinct. It was a name I didn't recognize. No message preview. Just a winky face emoji next to the contact. That was the moment something shifted in me. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to know more. If I was going to accuse my wife of cheating, I needed to be absolutely sure. So I started paying closer attention. Watching. Listening. Piecing things together. And what I found made my blood run cold. Once I decided to stop playing the trusting husband and start paying attention, things unraveled fast. It's like when you notice the first crack in a windshield, tiny, almost nothing, but the more you stare at it, the more you realize it's spreading. Everywhere. I started with her laptop. She always used mine before, but around 6 months ago, she got a brand new MacBook for work. I offered to set it up, after all, I'm in IT, but she shut that down real fast. Said she had it handled. Said her coach was helping her with everything. I let it go at the time. Big mistake. Now, I knew better. One morning, she left it open while she was in the kitchen. I walked by, not touching anything, just looking. The browser was open to a Gmail tab, but it was logged out. Suspicious. Who logs out of their own email every single time? Especially when it's just business. That's when I realized she wasn't just being cautious. She was hiding something. I didn't want to do anything stupid, like confront her based on a hunch, so I got smart. I installed a discrete keylogger on the family desktop. Not proud of it, but hey, when your gut's screaming at you, you listen. I also synced our shared iCloud account to an old iPad she'd forgotten I had. From there, I could see iMessages if she ever slipped up. And oh, she slipped up. A few days later, I started seeing messages come through. They were mostly innocent at first, until I saw his name. Tyler. I didn't recognize it at first. But the way she talked to him made it clear, this wasn't a client, or a friend, or even someone from her coaching circle. This was someone she was emotionally, and very likely physically, involved with. The messages started out vague. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. And the worst one? Dan has no idea. He still thinks I'm working with my coach tonight. My stomach dropped. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Could barely function at work. Every time I looked at her, I had to fight the urge to scream. But I didn't. I stayed calm. I played dumb. Why? Because now I had a plan. I started documenting everything. I screenshotted texts, copied messages, took photos of their call logs. I created a folder on a USB drive labeled taxes and stored it all there. Then I hired a private investigator. Within a week, he sent me photos of them at a hotel. Arms around each other. Kissing in the parking lot. Holding hands at dinner. Chloe, the woman I paid for, supported, loved, trusted, wrapped around another man like he was the center of her world. It was surreal. And yet, I didn't blow up. I didn't throw her out. I didn't even let her know I knew. Why? Because I wanted her to think everything was fine. I wanted her to feel safe. Comfortable. Stupid. See, Chloe had made one massive mistake. She'd forgotten who I was. She saw me as the quiet, loyal provider. The guy who would never leave. Never fight back. She didn't realize I was playing the long game. That every day she spent lying to my face was another day I was quietly setting the stage for her downfall. She still smiled at me. Kissed me goodnight. Called me her rock. And all I could think was, you have no idea what's coming. I knew I couldn't confront her without a plan. If I snapped, she'd play the victim. Cry. Lie. Twist it around like I was paranoid or insecure. No, if I wanted real justice, I had to be methodical. Cold. Surgical. So, while she was out working late, I met with my lawyer. Turns out, in our state, cheating still matters. It doesn't just blow up a marriage, it blows up the settlement. Chloe had no job, no income, and she was completely dependent on me. If I proved adultery, she'd lose her claim to alimony and a big chunk of marital assets. My lawyer told me, if you've got proof, Dan, you're holding all the cards. That was all I needed to hear. I spent the next month preparing. Quietly moving money into a separate account. Pausing joint credit cards. Freezing major purchases. I even had a forensic accountant help me track the money I'd given her for her business. Turns out she hadn't spent it on coaching or supplies. Nope. Spa days. Designer bags. 2 plane tickets to Miami, only one of which had my name. But I didn't say a word. Not when she asked why her card got declined. Not when she started complaining about her business slowing down. I just told her to hang in there. That things would get better. That I believed in her. I started sleeping in the guest room, told her work stress was getting to me. She acted concerned, like she still cared. But I could tell she barely noticed. She was always texting someone. Always smiling at her phone. Always gone. So I used that time to dig deeper. I found out Tyler wasn't just some random fling. He was her business coach. A 29-year-old influencer douchebag who sold fake success stories on Instagram. His whole brand was alpha male grindset garbage. And Chloe? She was all in. I saw the messages, her calling him her real soulmate. Telling him how she wished I would just let her go already. Funny. She never said that to my face. The night everything came to a head, it almost felt too easy. She told me she was going on a weekend retreat with her coaching circle in Sedona. I said, that's great, babe. You deserve it. I even helped her pack. Kissed her goodbye. Waved from the driveway. She was all smiles. Meanwhile, I was texting my pie. The hotel wasn't in Sedona. It was 30 minutes away, in the city. He got photos of her and Tyler checking in together. Same room. Same bed. Holding hands in the lobby like it was some romantic getaway. My lawyer said, this is gold. You're going to bury her. And that's exactly what I planned to do. That Sunday, while she was still off playing house with her Instagram guru, I filed for divorce. With every shred of evidence attached. My lawyer served her the papers the moment she walked through the door, still wearing her little weekend getaway outfit, fake tan and all. She froze. At first, she tried to laugh it off. Wait, what? This is a joke, right? Then the panic hit. Her eyes darted over the envelope. Her hands started shaking. Dan, wait, can we talk about this? But I was done talking. I told her everything. That I knew about Tyler. That I'd seen the texts. The photos. The plane tickets. I told her about the bank account, the credit cards, the forensic audit. And I told her my lawyer was coming for everything she thought she'd walk away with. She went pale. Tried to guilt trip me. You can't do this to me. I don't have anything. And I said, exactly. The first few weeks after the divorce papers were served, Chloe tried everything. Everything. She tried to act like she was in control. Like she had some master plan to get out of this mess unscathed. She called me, begged, even, to reconsider. She promised to change, to cut off Tyler, to work on herself, and make our relationship work. She even said, you know, Dan, I never really loved him. It was just a fling. Please, don't do this. But I wasn't having it. I let her talk. I let her beg and plead. And each time, I listened carefully to her excuses, her justifications, the fake tears. It was all noise to me. She was lucky I wasn't taking her to court for defamation after the things she'd said about me behind my back. Things she probably never thought I'd hear. But I wasn't in a rush. I had my ducks in a row. I was ready for the long game. A month after the papers were served, Chloe started unraveling. Slowly at first. She was shocked to find that I wasn't playing the pity me card. I wasn't desperate to keep her around. I wasn't begging her to stay. And I definitely wasn't trying to talk things through. Her business, which she once thought would take off, never went anywhere. Not without my financial backing, not without my constant reassurance that everything was going to work out. She spent months posting motivational quotes and selling digital courses that nobody bought. Meanwhile, Tyler, her soulmate, barely even returned her calls. In the meantime, I kept moving forward. I put the effort into myself for once. I threw myself into my work, got promoted to senior project manager, and took on bigger responsibilities. I started investing my time and energy into things that made me feel fulfilled. I joined a gym and started working out, something I'd neglected for years. It felt good. Really good. Like I was finally waking up from a nightmare. Chloe tried to come back, of course. She'd text me out of nowhere. Hey, how are you? We need to talk. But each time, I just ignored her. I wouldn't even let myself get caught up in any of her drama. I was done. There was no going back. But the real cherry on top? The big, juicy piece of revenge. 6 months after the divorce, my company offered me a huge promotion. A big one. A management position, with a pay raise that made me 6 figures. I couldn't believe it at first. I'd worked hard for years, but now it was all paying off. The opportunities were endless, and suddenly, my future didn't just look bright, it looked golden. The first person I called was my best friend, Jake. I needed to tell someone who had been there from the beginning, who knew how hard things had been before. We laughed. I could finally afford to travel, to do all the things I'd put off for years. No more worrying about her business or making sure Chloe's lifestyle was supported. That night, after the announcement, I checked my phone. Sure enough, there was a message from Chloe. She didn't even try to hide it anymore. Dan, I see you're doing well. Must be nice to have everything handed to you. I guess you don't need me after all. I couldn't help but laugh. This was the woman who had relied on me for everything. The woman who had cheated on me, used me, manipulated me into supporting her while she pretended to be something she wasn't. And now she was mad that I was doing better without her? I typed one simple response. Yep, it sure is. That was it. I didn't need to say more. Chloe's downward spiral only continued from there. Her business was a joke, her relationships were falling apart, and all the friends she thought she'd made during her coaching phase slowly stopped returning her calls. No one was sticking around for the drama anymore. She had burned every bridge. Meanwhile, I thrived. My promotion came with perks, more recognition, more respect, and more freedom. I treated myself to things I'd put off for years. A new car, a vacation to Europe, even just a few simple luxuries I hadn't been able to afford when I was stuck supporting her. And I'll admit, as much as I didn't want to, there were moments when I felt a rush of satisfaction. Watching her struggle to make ends meet. Watching her send desperate texts begging for a second chance, even though she knew there was no going back. Watching her try, and fail, to pretend that she was living her best life. Because I was living mine. It's strange how quickly things can change. 1 minute, you're a guy living in the shadow of someone else's lies and ambitions. The next, you're standing at the top of a mountain you built all by yourself, looking down at the wreckage of a life that was never really yours to begin with. Chloe's attempt to reclaim what she thought she deserved was a joke. She called. She texted. She even showed up at my office one day, hoping to talk about getting back together. But every time she tried to reach out, I shut her down. She'd beg for a second chance, talk about how much she regretted everything, how she was sorry. But here's the thing, sorry doesn't fix betrayal. By now, I had moved on. And not just emotionally. I was living a completely different life. A life that was mine. My work was thriving. I had new friends, new hobbies, a solid routine. I took that promotion and ran with it, gaining respect and recognition from colleagues who had once overlooked me. I didn't need her anymore. Not for money, not for validation, and definitely not for love. And the best part? I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Chloe, on the other hand, couldn't keep up the charade. Her business tanked. She tried starting over with some half-hearted attempts at influencer marketing, but it was too late. The people she'd once looked down on were now surpassing her. Her brand wasn't authentic anymore. She had nothing to sell except a hollow image of someone she wasn't. By the time I heard from mutual friends, they were all saying the same thing. Chloe was a shell of the person she once was. She was constantly dating, hopping from one failed relationship to the next. None of them stuck. She still didn't have a real job. Her social media posts were filled with passive-aggressive rants about how life wasn't fair and people like me didn't understand the struggles of building a brand. But the worst part? She was still stuck in her self-inflicted mess. One night, I received an email from her. It was a long one. Apologizing again. Begging me to take her back. Talking about how hard life had been without me. She even said that maybe she had been too focused on herself and her business. I didn't bother reading the whole thing. I had learned everything I needed to know. I deleted the email. But before I did, I made sure to take one last screenshot of her message, the one where she confessed how she was sorry for everything. And I sent it to my lawyer, just in case she tried anything later. A little extra insurance that she couldn't play the victim and make false claims. That was the final nail in the coffin. The last piece of the puzzle. I'd built a new life for myself. One that was no longer defined by Chloe or her betrayals. I was free to move on, something she would never be able to do without facing the consequences of her own actions. Chloe eventually moved away, out of state, chasing whatever new dream she could convince herself was worth her time. As for me? Well, I started putting down roots. I bought a new house. I spent time with people who actually valued me for who I was, not for what I could provide. And in a strange way, I felt sorry for Chloe. She had been given every opportunity to build something real, something lasting, but she chose the easy path. She chose betrayal, and in the end, it cost her everything. I was the one who'd learned from this. Learned to never let someone else define my worth. Learned that betrayal, no matter how deep, always comes to light in the end. And while Chloe might still be out there, trying to rebuild a life based on lies and false promises, I knew one thing for sure. I'd gotten the last laugh. And that was it. Chloe's world continued to crumble as mine soared higher and higher. Because in the end, the best revenge is living well, and I was living better than I ever had before.
Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed these Reddit stories for deep sleep. If you did, consider liking the video, or subscribing if you would like to see more.